Oh, what's up, demons and demonettes? Tis I, Atraxi, Demon Queen. And we're back at it again. Today I want to give you an update, or more of like a get ready for a Clashfronts. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. As you can see, as always, I just got another stage. Awesome. Alright, Clashfronts. So, as for the game mode itself, I'm still not 100% sure on it. From what I can understand, it works a little bit like a Risk. Is in that, so it sounds like you'll attack a tile, and then you can attack another tile. If you're in the Vanguard, I don't know what everybody else does. We're just gonna kind of figure it out. So it's gonna be more of a preparation video, right? So I want to help you get ready. So, there's two groups, right? You have your regular group, and you have your Vanguard group. Now, if you're not in the Vanguard, you only need to deploy 3 teams. I would recommend just deploying your 3 best teams, which you're typically probably going to run in a Supreme Arena. I don't necessarily know that the order matters, and we'll go into that. Alright, so as you can see, I have my formations here, right? And they have like a weird order. This is not the order I set. It changes every time I come in here. One thing to notice is that we have this fatigue bar here. Group enters a winning streak after achieving 3 consecutive wins. Continuing to battle in the same state will accumulate fatigue for the heroes in the group. Heroes with fatigue increase more rapidly, and the battle lasts longer as the number of surviving heroes decreases. Accumulated fatigue weakens the stats of all heroes in the group. The higher the fatigue, the more the heroes are weakened. A group's fatigue resets at the beginning of the deployment stage. Right, so to keep in mind that I kind of want to have like a support in each group. Just to potentially deal with the fatigue issue, just to kind of keep everybody healthy. We want groups that can eliminate enemies quick. So that may be another thing. So stall teams may not be as effective here, but you could still run them, right? Just to whittle down your opponent's heroes. So, let's go more into the formations, right? So you keep in mind, this is what we got here is not what we're gonna see. Which leads me to believe there's no actual, oh, I picked Team A to go against Team B. No, it's just gonna be like, the system's gonna randomize your order, then it's gonna duke it out, and that's gonna be that, right? So we want to run our 5 strongest teams. And if you've done Crystal Clash a lot, you should probably have an idea of what those would be. I'm going to go through what my 5 strongest comps are going to be, where I'm not going to repeat heroes, right? So first we have the God comp base. Now we have Thorin, Dianel, Damien, Scarlita the Dalita, and Taylene, right? So the base is these 4. With the flex bot, we could flex in someone like a Lily May, a Tassie, a Burial, or a Taylene. We are using all of the other heroes in other squads, so we're gonna flex in Taylene. Something to note here, too, is that we get the buff tiles from our talent trees. So the talent trees are effective in Clashfronts. Another thing to consider here is that we are on Arena Map 1, right? So this is one squad that we're running, right? Alright, so we're going here. This isn't necessarily our second highest team. I would rank this as number probably 3 or 4 in the ranking. But this is the Mauler. It's kind of like frontline comp. We're using Greatsword because it's mostly physical damage. Now, if you have Lenya, you can sub in Lenya for Seth. I view them about the same in PvP. It's just that my Seth is now Paragon 4, where my Lenya is only Paragon 1. Yes, she does have the higher EX weapon, but the Paragon levels are big in PvP, so I'm gonna go with Seth in my case. If I had Lenya maybe at like PA2, P3, I'd probably put her in because I think she's like Seth, maybe a little bit better. Again, we have the double tile. So we're gonna throw over Seth, we're gonna throw over Shakir. Brutus is gonna be up in the front to grab any frontline heroes. You have Mikola here to the side, right? She's our sustain buffer. She's really good with this unit. And then we have a Lily May just to kind of like counter anything like an Aeron if they ran into it. That might cause problems for this comp. So it's kind of like heavy counter control, kind of like heavy blitz. It's a pretty good comp. It works against other comps as well. It's just not as strong as some of these stronger comps, but it's still really good. I would rank it in like the top 5 comps that I can build at this time that don't repeat heroes. Alright, so here we have your control. So if it's randomized or what teams they go against, control is gonna come up really strong in this event because it goes really fast, it burns through enemies like nothing, right? So that's why we're running the Elsa version, because she crashes in and just deletes everybody. This is probably the strongest version of this team. Maybe it's a little bit weaker with a Haywin in over a Damien, but it's still really, really strong. It's still on attack. This is one of the strongest comps, unless you're going against a Lily May or Dunlinger. But if you're not going against those two, it's one of the strongest comps out there. It's very hard to counter. Like I said, there's only like a couple comps that can easily counter this. Maybe God comp can counter it too. Like there's other things to counter it, but it's a very hard comp to counter, so it's a very strong. I think it'll do very well here. Alright, so number 4, here's the Tassie Lightbearers comp. Now, if I go to Clash and I rank my comps, right, so I kind of ran, like, the other 3, right, those are comps that are strong. I would rank this as, like, the 5th strongest comp. Now it's going to be stronger with the talent tile, the double talent tile. Tassie, the idea is we're going to try to get Tassie to ult as much as possible. We got Corn in there for some shielding. We got Tunisia in there for some control and a little tanking, and then Vala in there because she's a really strong. Typically for my Lightbearer comp with the strong version, I might flex in like a Cassidy. I might flex in Sinbad. I probably wouldn't run 2 tanks in this case, but I'd flex in another hero. I could have flexed in Odie, Carolina, Florabelle, Merrily, right, if I just wanted to go pure Lightbearer. But now we have Tassie this time around, where we didn't have her in Clash before, and she's really strong. I don't know if you've used this comp or similar comp on stages, but the idea is this gets her to ult quicker, doubles her ult. She essentially neutralizes the entire enemy team, just puts them to sleep, and whittles them all down. Then you have Vala over there, who's a big assassin, who's obviously going to benefit from the whittled down heroes in her execute, and it's just going to be a nasty comp. I think this is going to be a strong comp. This would I rank this maybe like 4th or 5th. Maybe with like the Mauler comp, kind of like, and then Control as one of the weaker comps. But we'll see how they all do. And then lastly, we have my Nara isolation comp. I call it the Nara comp, but the real hero of the show is Burial. Again, this is another heavy Celestial Hypogean, so right, we got the double tile here. We have Friasto, Dunlinger, Burial, Ludovic, and Nara, right? So, this is a really strong comp that I've been using. I think this is probably the 2nd strongest comp that you can build. It's pretty nasty. Can you counter it? Yes, you can counter any comp. But a lot of people struggle against this comp. It's because what it does is it's built around negating ults and not allowing your opponent to ult. You isolate them for burials, debuff, and then he just creates a bunch of shadow clones, and it's over. You know, I don't know if necessarily people are really gonna be set up to defend against this. The only time I've really run into any issues with this comp is against on map 5, which is the one with the 2 walls, or maybe like special map 5. It just doesn't work there because the walls get wonky and mess everything up. But otherwise, it's really, really strong. So I'm not gonna save it. I'm just gonna yank it. But oh, you can see I was running. I like this fist artifact. I like the extra control and the pull on this squad. It kind of like helps to slow down your opponent a little bit more. It's really strong. Here we're running on lightning. Here we're running greatsword. here it's just kind of what we have left over, which is Tide Caller. I was thinking about running Confining. It's just that I don't know that Confining is necessarily going to have a chance to be effective, because this team is usually pretty fast, especially with the extra haste and HP. A Resonator obviously here to give it to Tassia to let her to go off faster. And then, like I said, what's that binding spell, right? Alright, so I'm just gonna yank this team to give you some other ideas. So, I mean, you could run something more like... I would think... so let's see, what do we got? Oh no, we don't want that. We want... Yeah, there we go.
Great materials are everywhere.
Now, if you're struggling for heroes, you know, you could run something like this, right? You have your Smokey, who's strong. He's gonna kill a Viperion. Viperian's kinda gonna stall. A Sylvina with a decent investment is a really strong hero. She just tends to die a lot against the stronger teams early on, so that's why this is a little bit weaker. It's still pretty good comp. I would rank it about 5 or 6. I mean, you could go all Mauler. I mean, we have Coco floating out here, right? We could run, right, so we have these sitting out here,
Get behind me, children.
you know, you could run something like this.
Who else needs a little pick me
We need one more for the talent. I mean, you could run... You always have Brian here. So you could run kind of like a Zoo. Zoo, you know, Zoo's a pretty strong team. I just don't... This is one of the stronger teams. I just think there's other stronger teams out there, but Zoo is definitely a viable comp, and there's like a lot of flex you could do, right? You could do this.
Happy times are
You could throw in Ludovic, right?
A state of art.
You could throw in, you could go full. I wouldn't run it with binding. I would run it with something more like no, I would probably go with maybe like a Tide Call in this case, right, for the extra haste. This, you know, like, it's just seeing what you have and just kind of like building it. That's one idea. If we're going for something a little bit, you know, like a weaker on the Mauler side, we could run something like this. Right. So this could be something that's viable, right? So we have like our Reese. He's pretty decent hero. It's just, it's who you have invested. You obviously want to just use your strongest PvP heroes. Overall, I mean, that's why you're seeing, like, I'm really leading into my Paragon 4 heroes, my Paragon 3 heroes, that I know go right, because Smokey's iffy in Arena, because he's very easy to counter. All you have to do is kind of, like, interrupt him, silence and alt. So, basically, if we look at all my other teams, let's just exit out of this, because I don't want to save my formations. Right, so if we look at all these teams, right, this team's not going to struggle against the Smokey. They're just going to burn right through them. This team might struggle against the Smokey a little bit, but you have a Lily May that could potentially counter it. And you have a lot of melee damage. They could, like, shred him pretty easy, because I imagine he's probably going to be in the back. This team, obviously, they're just going to counter him right off the bat, because he's just going to get rooted. You know, this team, obviously, we got Tamisia for some control, and we've got Tassie for some control, which is gonna negate your Smokey, and then you're gonna have Dunlinger here. He's gonna kind of negate Smokey a little bit. Burial could fear him, and then Nara could pull him. So you're pretty much, like, Smokey's not gonna be a strong hero here. Again, he is a strong arena hero sometimes, right? He's easy to counter, but if you don't counter him, he's strong. It's one of those. But a lot of the stronger teams and comps that you're gonna run up against are gonna be able to counter Smokey, but that's something to consider. Like I said, just stick to your strongest heroes. Like if you do Clash and you do the 1.6x a lot, you should have an idea of what your strong teams are be and just run those, and then you'll be fine. And that's it for this one. I will catch you next time. Once I have a better concept of the whole event, I will put out another video. So probably a day after this one. And I will catch you later. Any comments, questions, toss them down below. Bye!